on, you guys? My name is Justin Fix, and you are sitting down with Team JFI, and we are down here in New Orleans at the Overlook Film Festival, producing and activating a show called Room Service.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Turek. I am the creative supervisor and choreographer, JFI.
And I'm David Ruzicka. I'm co-artistic director with this guy.
Hi, I'm Daniel Montgomery. I'm co-artistic director with this guy, also the writer and performer.
We are down in New Orleans working on a show called Room Service, which is actually kind of a remount and kind of a...
Yeah, it's a snippet of what we did in our fall show of 2018.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm living in the future. 2018 of Creep Awake. There is a character that we sort of introduced in that show that we've been calling the Salesman, or Mr. Black. And it is based around that character. It's a 10-minute show that takes place here in this gorgeous, haunted, weird hotel room at the Olivier House Hotel. And you read a creepy little bedtime story and meet the salesman.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that's been the most interesting for us in remounting this part of Creep Awake was that we're just dealing with the uniqueness of the setting, and it's such a responsive thing, the nature of the work we put together, that getting the little unique surprises and opportunities that come about from the room has added so much, things that we never would have expected in terms of lighting and sound, and just ways to add more nuance to a character that people already had a really strong response to.
And we were able to sort of pull from... Creep Awake was about nightmares, and this was one of our sort of monster creature characters that sort of populated that show. And he has such a sort of fairy tale, strange, bedtime story gone wrong sort of vibe, and placing this experience actually in a bed and getting the chance to write a bedtime story, a poem, actually make an actual book, which we did with some artwork from Stephanie Delziri, who's also on our team. It was fun to sort of expand that and take this little nugget from Creep Awake that seemed to get a really great response, and flesh that out and spend more time with that character and find out what's some more fun stuff to kind of play with him, because he does elicit such a visceral response from people. It's fun to spend more time with him, and it's been fun to play.
I think there's been something kind of really cool too that we wanted to sort of like extend our world, right? As like young creators, like we're always like, how can we like merchandise, or like how can we continue to like franchise our business a little bit? So by able to put like a poem in with a fully illustrated like 42-page children's book that we then are now able to sort of like sell and actually have as like a takeaway from the experience has really, I felt like, sort of elevated and allowed people to kind of take our stories home with them now.
So Mr. Black, our salesman character, he was literally from my nightmares. Sincerely. He was a little bit... The movie that scared me the most when I was little was Poltergeist 2. And there's Reverend Kane, who shows up and, you know, knocks on the door and says, "Let me in." His image has stuck with me ever since I was a terrified little child afraid to go to sleep. And he has this sort of wide-brimmed, sort of Amish-style hat. And the idea of just somebody showing up, knocking on the door, and being able to just walk into your house is so mundane, but also unsettling and terrifying, that anybody could just walk into your house. And so I kind of had that image that's lived in me for a long time, and would continue to have nightmares about, you know, this character. But in addition to that, we always pull from different sort of sources when we're creating a show. And there was sort of a trend of a man in black character. I listen to so many podcasts, and they're almost always about scary stuff or murder. And there was this whole I went through a phase of listening to all these stories of men showing up to a house and having something a little messed up with his mouth, and black-eyed children, and it turns into this just sort of a mishmash of stuff that lives in my brain. And being able to sort of, when we came up with last year for Creep Awake, the theme of nightmares, that was one of the first things that popped in my brain. Was like, oh, there's this vision I've had forever of this figure that shows up, and it was nice to sort of flesh him out and make him sort of our own version of whatever that lives in.
I think Stephanie also did like a really awesome job. Our color palette for...
Yeah, there's something really like kind of gross about using like all nudes and tans, and because sometimes black can be very predictable, and putting him in like a khaki suit makes him also seem a little bit more realistic and also a little bit more unusual. And just with the little accents of black, you're able to pick up those black eyes a little better, and like
the red lips.
Yeah.
Stephanie got these fingerless sort of like motorcycle tan gloves that are so dirty and strange. And it's just these extra little bits. I play the salesman, by the way, with these extra little pops of black that do show up, and she found the perfect hack for that.
He also
it took a while. We found it.
He also evolved a little bit during the course of even production. During Creep Awake, he started off as a little bit more of an almost, I would say, more of a creature, I guess I would say, and then we peeled some of that back, and it actually, seeing more of the elements of humanity from Daniel, I think makes it even more unsettling in a strange way.
He originally was a mask, like a full mask. I was wearing a mask, and it was beautiful and terrifying, and as scary as that mask was, we found that it was scarier when the mask was off.
Kind of goes back to like the man behind the mask is scarier than the mask.
Than the mask itself. And we actually literally learned that. We did a couple previews with the mask, and the difference between doing it with a mask, without a mask, was incredible. So we were like, all right, no masks for that. I just figured out a way to use some weird adhesive to tape my face all over the place. Yeah, I wear black sclera contacts that cover my eyes. And they're prescriptions, so I can see actually pretty well.
And they're expensive.
I think one of the things we were most, at least for me, is excited about in performing this here at a film festival was the opportunity to perform it for people who've never experienced any sort of immersive theater, don't even know how to act or what they're in for necessarily. And we've seen quite a range of reactions from people. Some feeling, and which we love, completely out of their element, not sure how to act. And we, in the 10-minute span of the show, teach them, when to respond, when not to respond, and sort of guide them along the way. But there's been some loud screams, and then just some people frozen, and everything in between. Some people don't react at all. But it is exciting to introduce this to people that are, filmmakers. That we live in even as an immersive theater artist, we live in sort of visuals, and Justin and Stephanie have such great eyes for visuals. So Justin always talks about performing through a lens. So we just as a company innately want to think about what does the frame look like, what does the picture look like. So in some ways, I feel like we try to cater towards people with a cinematic eye. So it really is, in a way, I think, for them, and hopefully we're presenting them with like a mini movie in person that they can feel,
I think we're seeing the reactions too from people because of the immediacy of two people in the staging with Mr. Black, we're actually noticing moments where people react verbally and comment back to things that his character is saying that we never saw before in previous iterations of that character. So people definitely respond to being put in that very sharp cinematic frame.
Yeah, I think our process sort of always through our way of working is like Stephanie is a choreographer, and I think I have like a very anal eye on the way, like very detailed eye, and to me it's all about layers and the depth. Right, and it's all about perspective, and it's all about being able to sort of see, when curating this work for a group of 8 or a group of 1, you don't know whether I'm presenting a book in front of you where the attention is going to go. And I think naturally, if you know that I'm performing over here, but I'm not, the attention's over here, and you got one person over here, that this space, whether it's been through lighting or the sound design or even just the environment in which you're placed in, can work. Because at the end of the day, this immersive nature, is not always about the interactivity within their space. It's just about literally sitting down in the space and allowing your eye lens to be that of your own point of view in the experience. And so I'm just really picky, and I think it's like most people, as far as a director goes, I really do block mark to mark, and I will block of hey, your hand literally needs to be up on the second panel when you turn around here, and those differences, because when you can make that difference, and this sight line can cut through here, but this person sees the different, and I don't know, it's
but lighting always plays into that too, and it is sort of like a film set in some ways, because we were trying to figure out when I enter as Mr. Black, if I hit my mark and you can see my shadow. Mm-hmm. And if you just see that image, Justin's always particular about lighting as well, and making sure that we as actors hit our light or create. And this is such a
great shadows.
Yes, there's a lot of great shadows in particular in this weird hotel room, that we were able to sort of block out windows and dim bulbs. We were hopped on the plane from LA, and I had a suitcase full of light bulbs and dimmers, because I was like, all right, well, we at least got to have our control of our lights.
And it's speaking to the layers, being able to have the man in black as the focus, but then to look and create this huge, powerful shadow behind him to create this larger than life monster behind him. It is a really cool, wonderful thing to see.
I was going to say, I feel like a big thing with this particular piece is the word focus, things that are consciously in a soft focus versus a hard focus. There are elements in this room that we're in particular that are never consciously noted by the audience member, but they add a lot of felt detail to the space. So even as you come in, you just briefly pass through a part of the room, and we may not give you a hard focus on a particular element, but you can feel that it's there, and you can sort of know that it's a fully fleshed out space, so that when you do have a hard focus moment, it feels even more powerful.
There's also, Justin's also, and I think as a company, we're always thinking about all the senses. So for film, it's a visual, and here, Justin's always particular about scents. So we picked out the specific scent that we wanted for this room to create a sort of a feeling. We have cricket noise playing out front before you even get into the experience. It's very subtle, but it does, without even realizing it, create a mood and create a vibe. And there are so many details that go into this type of thing that that's what makes it so fun for us. And I think it does add an extra level of excitement for, again, people that are coming to see this that aren't used to this type of experience, or just used to seeing something on a screen and not being able to feel it, to smell it, to be able to touch it. It's a lot of detail goes into it.
Well, I would say Mr. Black is kind of in Daniel's soul a little bit. So most of his movement is just his natural, I think, tendencies when he's just in that character. But I think it's like you were talking before about lighting and creating shadows and taking attention places when there's something going on right here. You don't know that he's actually pressing play on the music. It's all creating, smoke and mirrors. It's all calculated and but a lot of it is just kind of just Daniel.
Well, we do often, every show that we work on, movement is a big part of it. And the Mr. Black sort of jerky, weird, into smooth sort of movements and hand gestures and all this sort of magic is stuff that I naturally was able to discover. It sort of evolves the more we've done. I've seen what people sort of respond to. And there is, I think, an exciting, at least as a performer, juxtaposition between I'm this terrifying looking predator and I'm almost like a mime magician that is hypnotizing the children. I think it adds an extra layer of creepiness. But also, I think good horror always has the slightest tinge of humor in it somewhere. I feel like it's got to. And I've been surprised, at least this time, being Mr. Black, the amount of laughter that we've gotten from guests. And not laughing, I hope not laughing at me, but he is so odd, and the jazz hands does create sort of like a childlike giggle that comes out of the guests, and that's what we want. We want the guests to feel like a kid again, you know, with this terrifying man who's putting on this sort of like magic show in front of him. It's something that it's fun to play with. So it is, all of it is blocked and marked, but I discovered my fingers as we were sort of like going through it.
We have gotten, I feel like, a lot of attention from this sort of story, but I feel like we've also gotten so much attention from the beautiful illustrations of Stephanie Delaziri. And like truly someone even laughed where they're like, oh my god, this could become like, you guys could be the company that releases like horror children's books, like really short story form, but like dark stories, you know, like bad time stories in a sense. I don't know, so that could be really fun to play around with as far as Mr. Black. I think there is, we've now built a model that I think we now have a traveling show, something that we literally can load up in a briefcase and like take it with us and pop this stuff up in a much like streamlined sense as far as budget and as far as team. We brought in a beautiful actress and a dear friend of the company's, Kylee Thurman, who kind of played this like maid, so it really worked with integrating sort of the hotel while these people are coming to a hotel room. The maid is the one who turns down your bed, so it was really kind of nice. As far as growth with this company, like I continue to be amazed and stressed by the things that we sort of want to knock down. You know, we will start probably working on our fall show for Creep 2019, the 1st of July. And then we got a few other sort of brand activations with other big kind of studios on our books as well.
Juggling a lot right now.
Yes, juggling a lot.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in touch with us, please follow us on Instagram at JFI Productions, and then email us info@jfiproductions.com.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for creeping me out sufficiently.
Thank you.